Sports Talent Show. My name is Christopher Saunders, and please have on with me the head football coach of the Kennedy Eagles for this Connecticut high school football preview episode. Coach Sarlo is with me. Coach, I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I appreciate it.
It's always great knowing that when I do these previews with you, and we've done these a few times, and I know obviously that football is coming up. I see you during the winter for some of the basketball games when I'm able to do the Kennedy Eagles on the boys' side, and also too when I'm a hop, skip, and a jump away from the high school makes it a little bit better too. It can kind of walk if I want to
Yep.
the school. Um, but just seeing coach the success that you have had as a coach for football and baseball, being able to bring the programs to the playoffs, football for the first time ever, which kind of was surprising to me. I could have thought they made it at least once, but they didn't. And that was great to be able to hear that, man.
Yeah. Now that wasn't just for Kennedy, Crosby or Wilby. So since the that state playoff format was put into effect, I don't know, it goes back to the early '70s, I think.
Hmm.
Um, no city school has qualified. So I mean, I guess you could say career uh, 2 years ago and then last year, but they have us to thank for that, winning on Thanksgiving the last 2 years. But good for them. I don't consider them a public school like Crosby or Wilby, but they are, school of choice where you have to apply to go to there, but
Hmm.
they are a Waterbury school. So I'm considering ourselves a Waterbury Public, and it's the first time a Waterbury Public has ever done that. So
When I had Fasano on here, and we kind of talked about the football thing for a little bit, because obviously baseball was the main focal point during the season. But in my conversation with him, my first question was just take me into, because I know the game itself did not go the way that you guys wanted. But as you and I have discussed when we talked on the phone maybe like a month ago, right? It was the fact of A being the first team ever to make the playoffs. Hopefully there's shirts one day for that. I would love that. And I
yeah,
think kids would too, and so would you.
we're
But
working on it.
and perfect. First off, being the first team to ever make it, then being able to obviously play a very tough opponent, but going to an excellent facility to play in that playoff game. And for you and the guys, the young men, to be like, wow, we're actually not done playing after Thanksgiving. This is pretty cool. This is fun. And just the build up and how it happened, right? I mean, that kind of stuff doesn't go away. And for Fasano and the rest of that group, not just the seniors, but the guys who are coming back this year, those are memories that will never be forgotten.
Yeah, we talk about legacy. Like those seniors last year didn't start a legacy; they continued something. Continued building on two consecutive winning seasons. So 6-4 the previous year, and they built on that, and 7-3 last year, and they left a legacy of success and winning and tradition that the guys who are following them have to uphold. So I mean that's a tall order. You go back to '08 when we played in the NBL championship game against Ansonia, when that game format was in place.
Hmm.
The guys who followed in '09 and '10, they had big shoes to fill because those 21 seniors we had in '08, set the bar pretty high. And that's what those guys did this year. Joe did the same thing. Like I don't think he'll realize the legacy until it really sets in years down the road where he could come back and say, look, this is what we did. This is what we were able to do.
Hmm.
And hopefully the tradition and continuation of success and winning goes on, well after Fasano. So I've been here for 20 years. It's taken 20 years to get to that point, but we hope to continue building on that.
Do you feel like, Coach, because of the success 2 years ago, even though you had just missed the playoffs, and then obviously last year being able to make it, and I know losing a lot of seniors those last 2 years, and some kids who may not want to come back out to play football, they may want to go off and do other things. But the ones that you have coming back, do you feel like the numbers could potentially, because that's always the biggest thing for any program, not just in the Waterbury area, but also too in the valley as well, right? I know Seymour has had some weird numbers, but they've been able to kind of keep them decent. Oxford has been typically small. They're not a big school. Wolcott's been struggling with numbers. Do you feel like, Chris, that the numbers can kind of stay high for this Kennedy team with the amount of success that you've had?
Oh, they definitely can. Coach Bolin says it all the time that winning is contagious. So when he came on the staff in '08, he coached down at he was a varsity assistant, but he coached down at the sub-varsity level,
Mhm.
and they were very successful there. And he always stressed how important it was to win at every level because that winning just continues. It's contagious, like he always said. And you want kids the next year to stay with the program, but you want more kids to come out. So we can see that now. Like I have people emailing me, texting me, when's practice? When do we start? I want to play for Kennedy. How
Yeah.
about those words? I want to play for Kennedy. Like, okay, come on board. Yeah, we'll take it. So that definitely, I think what we did last year and
Mhm.
the last 2 years, I would say, is really going to contribute to kids wanting to play more. Like, I think, I mean, you mentioned those other Valley schools. We're all struggling to survive from COVID. Like,
Mhm.
I don't think anybody's the same after, that season where we shut down. We're trying to get back to that,
Mhm.
but I don't know. It's definitely a challenge.
Well, it's a great point that, Coach Bolin said, and he's a guy who knows a thing or two about winning. I think he was the last coach for Wilby to have a winning record, if I recall. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's close, right?
Maybe Chris Eckert that followed him, or was it Eckert or Gino Capuano possibly?
Yeah.
I think they might have had a 6-4 season in there
Hmm.
in the late 2000s, maybe
Hmm.
early 2010s.
Hmm.
I don't know. There've been so many coaches since I've been here that
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it was either Eckert or Capuano. But again, their tenure there was short-lived. They moved on to
Hmm.
bigger and better things. So hopefully that program will get back to where it once was, where Coach Bolin had it. I've been blessed to have, how about that? I have a head coach as an assistant coach. That '08 staff was Pete Flamia, Don Boland. I mean, we had some alphas in that program, which, again, you see what we did in '08. We were able to get to the NBL championship game. It's no wonder. So,
Well,
uh,
it's funny that you say that, coach, because obviously Donnie is a old school kind of coach. I don't mean that because of his age, although he's got the silver hair going, but he's an aggressive coach who has a certain way of coaching, but it works. He's very honest with the kids, but he's also, I think, in a way, the kind of coach that you need for the kind of kids, not to be rude, but just what you have as far as coming through to Kennedy, right? And I think for Flamia, although he is not coaching right now, but he kind of, he was the coach at Career Academy for some time. He is kind of in that same way what Bolin was, right? He's a hard-nosed coach, but he's able to work with the kids that he has. And I mean, proof is in the pudding. His last year coaching, mind you, he had a wide receiver playing quarterback, and they were within 3 minutes of beating Ansonia.
yep.
And I think to this day, and I can't speak for Coach Brockett, but I think Brockett had a lot of respect for coaches around the state. I think Flamia got a little bit more because of what he had to deal with throughout the times and trying to build, because he built career from nothing to
Built
something.
that program. Yeah, definitely. Well,
So,
he helped me do that at Kennedy. Like when
yeah.
he was uh, an assistant with me in '04, and then when Billy Griffin stepped down, I took the head position in '05, and he was the DC. It was literally me, him, and Coach Gus Krasavich, who's no longer with us, but um, it was just us three building the program from spring football in 2005, and then we brought a couple more people on, but
Mhm.
to add a Don Bolin, to add a Winchesky the following year in '09, those were great additions to our coaching staff.
Mhm.
Um, we have a new addition this year as well. You'll see him when you come to practice. Not going to reveal anything yet till that hire is official, but again, I, we're very excited about what we could do as a staff. Roy Thompson's been on board since 2010, so I have I had the luxury of three coaches that includes myself who've been around, more than 15 years. Joe Gallant was a player back in 2014,
Mhm.
then a volunteer assistant through through college when he was down at UB, and now he's
Mhm.
officially on staff. So to
Mhm.
have, Joe's story, to have him return and coach, that's just a great story. The kids love him.
Mhm.
He's a great fit there. He put up with me for a year. I coached him for baseball though for 4 years, so he was in our program for 4 years. So, again, I was able to convince Joe to come out and play football. I kind of pulled a Coach Bowl in there, and he was a great addition to that group in 2014. That was pretty successful. I think we were 5-7 that year, 5-6, something like that.
Is Susie back? Coach Susie? Is he back or no?
No, Coach Susie stepped away 2 years ago. So we had a new assistant last year,
Okay.
who was in school and moving on. So his school obligation didn't allow him to continue coaching this year. So that's why we had an opening
Okay.
during the winter time, and we filled that unofficially. And hopefully that hire is official as soon as it's just a matter of the Board of Ed approving the hire.
I think that's, when you talk about the connectivity with the coaches, right? Being able to have the same coaches every year, I think is so important. And with everything that is dealt with for the public schools in the Waterbury area, not being able to see the same faces each and every year. I think with everything else that goes on away from the field, right? There's enough of that going on to deal with. Then you add in that, and it just adds a whole nother layer of difficulty, right? But I think with obviously you and Coach Thompson, obviously Coach Bolin, being able to have those same guys and having some younger coaches that you've had. I know Susie was there for a little bit. You've had some younger coaches come through and help. Obviously, your son is a great, addition and has been for some time with the program doing what he does fantastically with the media and being closer to the kids' ages so we can, connect with them on that other level. Having that's got to be so huge, man.
It definitely is. It again, it's not about wins and losses. We've been, I think, a model for the kids to follow, a model of, the principles of our foundation of our football program, our team commitment and hard work. And my staff does nothing but model that constantly, every day for practice, every day for games. They're all Waterbury guys. They all played in the Waterbury public schools. So, I mean, regardless of what our ages are, we've all walked that walk. So they're following in our shoes, and we're
Mhm.
trying to lead by example. I just want to say this real quick. I don't think people realize how valuable Coach Bolin is. Like, he actually is an elementary school gym teacher. So, I mean, he's hard knocks, he's old school, but imagine him working with pre-K and K kids in a gymnasium full of, you know, an entire kindergarten classroom running around going crazy. So, my own kids went to Maloney, and he was their gym teacher and
Mhm.
their favorite teacher, their favorite teacher by far.
Really?
Yeah, so I mean, Coach Bolin has a good fit in our program, but I don't think people realize how valuable he is, not just to our program, but to the city of Waterbury. He's been teaching for over 30 years, and he's been an elementary school teacher that entire time. So he's been working with 3, 4, 5-year-old kids all the way up to fifth grade, whatever age that is, 10 or 11. And he's been a rock. And he's been great to have in our program.
Mhm.
Um, Roy Thompson is a city of Waterbury employee. He's not a teacher, but he leads in his department with public works, and he's able to step away and contribute to helping the kids in our program as well. And
Mhm.
I have the ideal staff. I really do. I mean, these guys are committed not just to me, but to the program and to the kids, because that's what it's all about. I mean, that first principle is team. It's not about Coach Sarlo. It's about the team.
Well, let's talk about the team quick while we're, because we're just about running out of time here. Obviously, we've hit on some of the young men that have graduated and moved on. What kind of Kennedy team are we looking at heading into the 2025 season?
But we're pretty excited because we have everyone up front returning except for our senior center, who was Nicoy Leverage. So we got to replace the center, but 4 of the 5 guys in the trenches will be back. Our quarterback, Jaden Lopez, he's going to be a 3-year captain coming into his senior year. He'll be back. The backfield behind him Imagine having to wait behind a 3,000-yard rusher like Danny Rodriguez. But, kids like Oscar Vargas and Sebastian Elizalde,
Mhm.
they got some playing time behind Danny to get him some breaks on the varsity level, but they didn't get to play much. But they're ready to step in. I think they're hungry and they want to play. Those two guys defensively are going to be our Mike and Sam linebackers, solid on defense. Uh, we have a Shamar Donaldson who's probably 6'4" at this point. A kid who came from Windsor, was a great addition to our offense. He's going to be running X this year. But we got to figure out where to put him on defense because we got a lot of two-way players that we're anticipating that can contribute to continue the success that we've built on over these past couple of years.
How, you talked about on the offensive line side being able to bring back the beef. I remember years ago, I don't know, I have to remember, I don't know if it was either you were losing or gaining because of what you had returning, but you combined all the weight from the offensive line and it was like over 1,000 pounds. You probably remember the year. So not knowing the weight of these offensive linemen to bring back that amount of beef without the center, which I'm sure will be a transition because the other four can help out the center. Do you feel like that's with what you had the last 2 years, having that cohesive offensive line from a state playoff appearance team, how huge is that for people who may not know?
It's big. I mean, the line you're talking about 2 years ago was Javion Watts. I mean, he was the Lee Award winner, the city's top lineman, and his nickname was the Fridge. I mean, he was big and strong, but the kid had nimble feet. He could move. He wanted to pull on that counter. He wanted to block for Julius Caban. Little 5'5" Julius Caban behind Javion Watts and Desmond Foster. That counter that we ran was pretty nasty. Matt Barton, Jordan Jefferson. So we had some big linemen that all graduated, but I'm not even worried about the size of our line this year. It's going to be the experience that they gained last year. So we were relatively young up front last year. That's why I'm excited about, returning this year with some guys who have, 8, 9, 10 games of experience at the varsity level and a state playoff experience. So, these guys have experience playing in the postseason as well, which is pretty exciting.
Before I let you go, Coach, you and I have talked for some years, and typically the playoffs was never something really discussed because obviously it was during the season trying to get through that. Because like you even told me, I think it was last year, like having to plan after Thanksgiving, usually you're planning for Christmas shopping and such, not for a playoff game. So now that you've had the taste of that after the last 2 years and everything that's gone into that, has the I don't want to say focus, but has the goals maybe moved a little bit now because of what's happened recently?
The goal has always been a state championship title, and that's always the goal. It's tough being in Class Double L. I really don't think we're a double L program with 45 kids total. Um, but that's always the goal. Like, we're not just going through the motions here. We don't prepare to lose. We don't practice to lose. We from day one, which starts on July 7th for us, we're preparing to compete for a state title. I mean, it doesn't matter who we are. I think wherever you coach, that's the goal in any program. I think of a Jim Balvano, day one of practice, cutting down the nets. That's the dream. That's always the dream. And that goal doesn't lessen. I mean, whether you have a 2-8 season or a 7-3 season,
Mhm.
that is still always the goal, is to play for that state championship title.
That's awesome, Coach. And also, too, very quickly, has your son Dante, has he risen up the line a little bit as far as his responsibilities with the team this year? I know last year he got an upgrade. Is he getting another one this year?
Well, he's going to graduate school now, so he's working on his master's degree. He's going to get his teacher certification, and I think the ultimate goal for him is to be hired officially. So he's still doing all of that social media stuff for us,
Yep.
on top of his graduate work, his master's degree work. So I give him credit for that. But he's kind of waiting in the wings for an official
Mhm.
paid position. I mean, that I can't pay him enough. There's no way with all the stuff that he's done for me over the years.
Mhm.
I owe him a lot of money. So uh, I helped pay his way through college. That's
There
the
you
least
go.
I can do.
That's the payment right there. Trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me. But coach, Seriously, though, really appreciate you coming on. Hopefully, we can get you on the radio at least once this coming season because I know it's going to be once the season starts, it's like you blink and it's already Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm in Waterbury, so just let me know. We can meet in person. We can meet over the phone. I appreciate the time here tonight, Chris.
Always, always. I wrap things up here in the CT Sports Talent Show. Next time, stay safe. Remember, CT stands Connecticut Talent. Try to find them all. Enjoy the show, everybody, and be well.